Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today is another breathtaking session of clarity that will take our quest for freedom to a whole new next level. So go ahead, grab a cup of coffee, buckle your seatbelt. Let's enjoy this ride. We are going to look at what is happening between the Ambazonian fighters and the clergies on the ground. We are also going to look at what happened when Foncha visited the UN in 1995. We are going to dive into the mindset of Gojindinka, the founder of Ambazonia, extensively, so that we can all have perspective, walk as one, so that we can free our people, claim our sovereignty, and build a prosperous nation that we all can be proud of. Do me a favor, click the subscribe button and share this video with a friend or a loved one, because when we all unite as one, we will be able to make progress rapidly. Let's go ahead and watch that video, and then we will analyze simultaneously so that we can all understand what is really going on. Let's take a look.
Fighters, they write, the arrest of the 6 Reverend Fathers followed actions we considered to be serious breaches of neutrality. 5 were released out of goodwill. The remaining priests will also be released once internal procedure are completed. Now, do we know exactly, because it said the arrest of the 6 followed actions we considered to be serious breaches. Now, do we know what these breaches are?
It's been very clear. I think I was on your show yesterday, and I spoke about the behavior of the church, or even some cultural groups and some dignitaries who feel that they can use the military anywhere, and by so doing sometimes they infiltrate our village and expose certain things at certain locations that give the military the right to invade them later and probably kill our civilians and our restoration fighters.
The clarity that I brought to us in my previous video is the missing ingredient in our foundation for the past 65 years. Our brother just said restoration fighters. We can't use the word restoration and Ambazonia simultaneously. If you say restoration of your independence, that indicates Ambazonia existed before. What I shared in my previous video has given us international recognition instantly. We are going to dive deep into that, so remain steadfast. How did I do that? Number 1, I just went into that document, Resolution 1608, and studied the conditions for independence. The question is, do you choose to gain independence by joining the Federal Republic of Nigeria or by joining La République du Cameroon? So the conditions for independence was based on the process of joining. And Resolution 1608 under 102 explained what that process looks like. A union treaty had to be ratified, signed, and registered at the UN. Without that, we did not join. Do you understand? This is what Gojin Dinka missed, the founder of Ambazonia. We are going to listen to him. And any vision that is not built on clarity, no one following that vision will ever rise above the visionary. There are three individuals that I spent time studying. Amadu Aijo, Foncha, and Gojin Dinka. These individuals can be categorized under cause. The rest are effects. Paul Biya, Seseko Ayub Tabe, Cho Ayaba, these are all effects. Whatever Paul Biya, Seseko Ayub Tabe, or Cho Ayaba did, I can summarize all of this in 5 sentences. Do you understand? Now, if you study the works of Gojin Dinka, if you study the works of Foncha and Aijo in the UN, you have perspective on everything that I've shared with you. So how did I do that? All I did was study that document. Look at what 76B says. And that all by itself, presenting the name Southern Cameroons on the table, not Ambazonia, gave us instant international recognition. No nation on earth will ever recognize Ambazonia, even if we fight for the next 100 years. The contradictions in the language we use to describe what is going on in the Southern Cameroons. My people, no nation on earth in their right senses will ever recognize Ambazonia. And then I defined jurisdiction. We want to dialogue with Paul Biya. We'll look at the Canadian talks. You should not, again I repeat, ever entertain dialogue with Paul Biya, because Yaoundé is not the proper jurisdiction for this case. All this confusion came because Gojin Dinka assumed there was a union treaty. Because Gojin Dinka assumed La République du Cameroun seceded from the Union in 1984. Whereas there was no Union treaty. So we remain on Resolution 1608. We never fully got independence. So La République du Cameroun extended their administration into a UN trust territory illegally. Jurisdiction. And let me break this down so that the layman understands. When a policeman stops you on the road, the first thing they ask you is your ID card. Why are they asking for your ID card? You can say your name is 237 Showbiz. That is what your friends know you to be. But a police officer won't take that. They want the name on your ID card that identifies you either as a resident or an immigrant in that geographical location. So they ask you for your ID card because they can look into their records and be able to know who you are. So when they put the name Ambazonia in the UN records, this is a secession movement and it goes under domestic politics instantly. So you can talk about a union and how that union was dissolved. You can go on with that, but there is no name in UN records as Ambazonia. So our valid ID, which is what I just placed on the table, and now the world has to hear us. was the name Southern Cameroons. With that, they can be, oh, these people had a government, they had a prime minister, Foncha. They had a plebiscite. Instantly, every information under that file pops up. Oh, we had resolution 1608. We are missing a union treaty. All of a sudden, every information that has to do with our case pops up. Because the lawyers and the teachers went on the street. Why? Because La Republic judges and lawyers were infiltrating into our legal system. We could call it marginalization, which is something that will have to do with internal politics. And they will be trying to solve marginalization. When you see La Republique du Cameroon extended their administration into our territory illegally because there was no union treaty, now we are establishing that framework to deal with jurisdiction. And the magistrates and the lawyers in our community understands this. Now, when we are talking about jurisdictions, why is this important? When Francis Ngannou is fighting in a ring with an opponent, he leaves with a paycheck, punching someone legally. That individual might bleed, but we have coaches, we have judges, we have cameras. It is legal. And so he lives with a paycheck, even when he loses a fight, because of jurisdiction. Now, if he goes into a nightclub and does the same thing, he will be arrested and locked up. Why? Because of jurisdiction. So when you take our case to Yaoundé, when you hope to dialogue with Paul Biya to solve your problem, it's like you fighting in a nightclub. But if you go through the right process, you should be paid or leave with a paycheck even after that fight. That is the difference, just by clarifying this. And this is what I've been able to bring light to for more than 65 years of us remaining in darkness. If I picked up a gun to go fight on the ground, some people will say they want to support you financially to go fight. When you bring light to an issue like this, some stay back. Oh, some are asking, oh, maybe it would have been me. Maybe because it's not me. Let me just say this as we move on with this. God calls people for things like this. And that is something that we will have to realize. My journey on this is unique. God pulled me into this by, first of all, letting my relative be kidnapped so that I should wake up to this call. He made me so angry that I even wrote a book and an economic plan. Through that, I interacted with the people and understood this country. Even with ministers, I heard them, I heard the people. I understood this country firsthand. Now, when I realized the incompatibilities in this nation, I decided to find who I was. So I dove deep into Matika heritage, digging more than 500 years of history to understand where we came from. That was all part of the journey. And then I'm getting to realize the loopholes, the legal gap in our case right now. This was all part of the journey. One thing you should understand is, if someone thinks that, oh, we were with the one Cameroon agenda, oh, maybe this individual lost track. No, it was all in God's plan, because God knew the kind of community that I'm dealing with. Some people might hear what I share here and they want to run out there and create an organization. I know that Why? Because I've dealt with young people in our community in the past. Your parents gave birth to you. So what they are doing is not different from what the young people are doing. Walk with you, understand one or two things, want to jump out there and start their own. So the factions that we've seen abroad. This is a consistent pattern. And so what God is doing with me is he will not tell me everything up front. So once we are done with one step, he helps me understand the next step. So he doesn't disclose everything to me even. That is what makes this mission interesting. So if you want to run around and start something, or you want to come close to me and then break up something, like you've seen those who were working with Che Ayaba, they broke up and go start their own stuff. Those who were working with Sako, they broke up and go start their own stuff. God understood all this pattern. He knew the people that I'm dealing with. So some came and told me when we were running the Cameroon Dream, oh, I want to use this name for my podcast. Whatever you want, come close. I'll tell you everything I know now. Because each and every one of those individuals that have come close, even in the past, back home, they came around and tried to broke up everything that I was building. And I left it for them. And they did nothing with it. Just like those who were fighting Ayabacho or Siseko. They are gone. They are out of the scene. And most of those people have done nothing with what they were fighting, thinking that if they can be in the spotlight, then they will do something. 80% of what makes you a leader, you are born with it. Only 20% is nurture. You can buy knowledge, but you can never buy wisdom. If you could buy wisdom, everyone that has gone to Harvard could create Facebook, but they drop out did. So God will be revealing everything about this journey as we proceed. And so when someone picks an idea and rushes with it, they will get stopped. And then God will reveal the next step and they will get lost. Because our people will be free. Because we are dealing with two issues here. We have the Anglophones, Southern Cameroons, and their own issues and internal issues. And then we have La Republique to deal with. So these are the two battlegrounds that we have. People that you're trying to help and they are fighting you, and the people that you're fighting. So that is the distinction. So God will not reveal everything to me. It's a journey. And one thing he can trust me is when he shows me something, I throw my entire heart into it. When we were with the Cameroon Dream and the CSDP project, I throw everything like this is the thing that will work and bring our people freedom. Because the Amber fighters said they wanted jobs, they wanted opportunities. None of the Amber fighters told me, oh, we are dealing with an incomplete decolonization. None of them said that to me. The Amber fighters never told me. Do you understand? That is what makes this journey interesting. So at the end of the day, you must humble yourself, walk. When you reach out to me, ask what is the next steps. If you grew up with me, try to let that spirit go, because that is what will keep you from your blessings. Because familiarity will confuse the calling that you see God placing upon my life to help us find freedom. Now, there are some questions that I want us to start with, but I want us to listen some more. Again, you can't use restoration fighters with the name Ambazonia. It is contradicting, because there was nothing like Ambazonia in the past that you are restoring. So that is like a nickname, and that is not in any UN records to help us have a recognition. Let's listen some more, and then there are some questions that I'll ask us. But this session will change your life. So stay glued to your screen.
So it is no longer news. We saw the nuncio in Bamenda that was ferried from Bafoussam with, should I call it a consignment of B?
Yeah.
Who were also so happy to stand close to a holy person, holy in quotes, and at the same time, there will be the same people who will leave the nuncio and get into the villages, get into our schools like in Bameli and start raping our girls, shooting our people, and causing all forms of atrocities. So this the breaches that these warriors are talking about are the fact that the church is very free to carry out its activities in Amazonia, hitch free. They do not need the military to accompany them.
It is not a for you.
Okay. We've heard about what is going on between the clergy and the separatist fighters, so-called separatist fighters. Now, God also took me through that journey of going to the seminary. And some will say, oh, why do you talk about God? Don't bring in Christianity. No, God knew. He knew that we will have these challenges of people using his name to cause all sorts of chaos in our community. And so he prepared me. Not only that, I have a firm foundation in classical apologetics. Those are lawyers for God. So I studied in a Reformed theological seminary, that is like Orthodox Presbyterian. And so I studied classical apologetics. So if we can defend the existence of God, you've heard of atheists, people who say they don't believe that God exists. So I studied how to tackle such individuals. If we can defend the existence of God and win a case, then there is no case that has to do with God's creation or human tragedy or human issues that we cannot tackle. That is what apologetics is all about. That is what that field of study in theology handles. So when I look at all the law books about laws between nations, all the nations, God created those nations. So all those issues are trivial to God. Now, what do you do when you come from a nation where winning an election means running for your life instead of leading the people who voted for you? What do you do when the youths must sell clothes and hustle on the streets to survive, while ministers employ only their own families, even when they are not competent? What do you do? What do you do when age is treated as qualification, but the actual ability to lead is missing? What do you do? What do you do when a society cannot tell the difference between volume and vision, between noise and leadership, between emotion and direction? What do you do when everyone claims to know everything, yet the nation has made no progress in 65 years? What do you do? What do you do when thousands have died in Southern Cameroons for 9 years and the world remains silent? What do you do when the future feels uncertain? I just watched a video about 2 days ago of a young man who committed suicide in Boya. What do you do when the future feels uncertain, the present feels chaotic, and the past keeps repeating itself? What do you do? What do you do when your people are more united in suffering than in strategy? What do you do when your nation calls itself indivisible, but the children of that nation are divided in every area of life: education, identity, opportunity, justice, and power. What do you do when citizens must flee the country that raised them in order to speak freely? These are the issues we are dealing with. We wanted independence. Today, we can't be free to express ourselves in the same nations where we got the independence. Today, we go sell a piece of land, raise money to travel legally to the same countries we wanted independence from. That is where we can speak freely. So that indicates the colonial masters are benefiting in two dimensions. They sign contracts and exploit our resources, and then we move legally to serve in their companies. It started with slavery and slave trade. Human beings were forced to Europe. After that, colonialism, that indicates they were extracting raw materials. Now they are extracting the raw materials, and then we are still serving abroad. So now they are benefiting in two dimensions. That is our story. What do you do? What do you do when your brightest minds run abroad? Your best talents work for foreign nations, and those who remain have lost hope. What do you do when your people mistake activism for strategy, charisma for clarity, and conflict for leadership? What do you do when after 65 years, even our intellectuals cannot diagnose the legal foundation of our suffering? What do you do? These questions are not just political. They are the soul of a nation crying for clarity. And until we ask the right questions, we will never find the right answers. I remember I was invited to a film production conference in Dallas in 2017. I was in that hall with people from different backgrounds. The people were asking, how can we make film production in Texas be like California? That was the topic. People stood up and gave reasons why it is impossible. The leverage California has. People gave all sorts of ideas. I stood quiet and I remained calm. The speaker asked, is there anyone with an idea? I raised my hand with my African accent. I asked one question: why can't we do it in Texas? I had read the history of film production in America, and I quoted their own history. I say cinematography in America started in Texas. Why can't Texas do it? By the end of that meeting, people rush to my table. That is where I met a Jewish man in his 60s at the time. And he said one thing to me that I'll never forget. He said, you see this childlike curiosity that you have. The question that you asked. this is what built America, and never let that go. He became a very good friend of mine. What do you do? I just ask questions. And these are some of the questions that I've been able to ask to help us understand what has been going on with us for 65 years. We will listen some more, and then we will look at why we are where we are today.
You to be able to get a contract in Cameroon, of course, you have to be one who understands the system. You got to understand the system before you can get a contract in that country. You got to know somebody, or you or yourself got to be an insider.
There is a president. Everybody knows the president is not the one really deciding for the country. And under the president, you have 3 or 4, I would call them vice presidents in their sectors. This is one example. So if you are having a judicial problem in Cameroon, and Mr. Laurent Fru is against you, chances are you are done. Why? Because he's the president when it comes to judicial matters.
Okay.
And so it's the same thing if you are talking about defense. If you are talking about defense, and someone like Galaxy Toga is against you, you are done. You know, so he's acting and he's functioning as the vice president there, even though he's not the minister of defense. He is just the secretary, and so, but he's more powerful than his minister. And if you don't understand that, you may be taking the wrong approach, thinking that if you go and talk to the minister of defense, you will have a result. If you don't know that the person you need to talk to is the secretary,
Interesting.
time will be wasted.
That brother said something in that video that most miss. If you don't know the right person to speak to in Cameroon, time will be wasted. For 9 years today, if we don't understand the proper jurisdiction, the way we ought to frame our case, we will be wasting time, and others will be encouraging you that don't give up. The freedom will come. If you don't know, take that from that brother. Again, I gave us instant recognition just by placing the name Southern Cameroons on the table, opening the file, Resolution 1608, our trusteeship status, incomplete decolonization, 102, not fulfilled, and then 76B, that gives us a legal path. Then I establish jurisdiction. No taxation without representation. No taxation without a union treaty. No extension or further extension of your administration into a UN trust territory without a union treaty. Stay there. If you don't know, the world will look like a nasty place to be in. You will cry, you will shout if you don't know. And others don't understand how to identify leaders. Jesus Christ said, when the blind lead the blind, they all fall in a ditch. So the first step towards identifying a leader is someone that can see clearly what the problem is. A doctor that can diagnose your problem properly, that doctor stands a chance to solve that problem or give you the right prescription. Some want people with connection. That is the individuals that they want to follow. Your inability to identify someone that can help you find direction in this world is what cripples you more than anything. The Bible says in 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 27, and this helps both the old and the young in our community. Again, I said we are not correcting elders because they are wrong. We are upgrading the vocabulary so we can have the world hear us correctly. We are not citizens of La République by legitimacy. We are citizens of La République du Cameroon by learned acceptance. Never forget that. So 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 21, 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 27 says, instead, God chose things the world considers foolish in order to shame those who think they are wise. God used the foolish things of this world to shame those who think they are wise. And he chose things that are powerless to shame those who are powerful. And I'll tell you why I use scripture as a foundation for what I teach here. Now, let's watch this clip. It will help you have perspective on how power, jurisdiction works. In the real world, there was a clip circulating on social media in Nigeria about an army general and a minister and a police officer. I want you to watch that clip. It will help you have perspective on what I'm saying, and then we'll dive into further analysis. Again, we still have Gojindinka. We will have Foncha. I told you these are cause. The rest, Pobia, Sesekwa, Yoktabeche, Ayaba, all these are effects. Cause. Gojindinka, cause. Aijo, cause. Foncha, cause. So let's take a listen.
You cannot even talk when I'm
Now, that military man is younger than the police officer you see there. But the military officer told the policeman, you can't shut me off. You are my junior. He respectfully spoke to the minister, but told him, sir, I have authority here. These are principles that you can violate. Like, I know some intellectual heavyweights in our community. I know some. But this applies even in the real world. When you study what I'm sharing on this platform, if you don't know, you don't know. If you can't understand this, you can't understand it, because I make it so simple. Those who are intellectual heavyweights, they know. Some say Pobia is smart. I don't think so. He's not smart at all, because he studied public law in France in the 60s. You think he's smart? No, he just continued a script based on the foundation Aijo laid. Not a smart man at all. By what standard? Now, this is what I want you to understand as we continue. Again, no treaty is equal to no union. Put that down. That's what you tell the La Republique soldiers, the governors that have been appointed. No treaty, no union, no jurisdiction. No jurisdiction is equal to illegal administration. Full stop. I'll repeat that again. No treaty is equal to no union. No union is equal to no jurisdiction. And no jurisdiction is equal to illegal administration. The legal minds in our community understand the framework of jurisdiction. This is something we don't debate about. Every country on country union in the world requires a treaty. Exchange of notes is not a treaty. Don't have to debate this at all. Because when your thinking is corrupt, that's why some tell me, oh, don't put in God. You don't want God because your intentions are not pure. If there is anything, Africa needs God more than ever before. Corrupt leaders, politicians with no soul. People are in misery because of human beings who don't have the fear of God. When you say you don't want God, Thomas Jefferson or John Locke, all those individuals who said separation between church and state is because the pastors and the clergies were all corrupt. And because they were corrupt, they were infiltrating into political matters, just like some of the corrupt clergies Chris Anu cited. Or ignorant because they don't understand the history. And so they think you are seceding. And instead of learning what I'm teaching here, so you can help educate the clergy, you can label them and fight them and based on emotion. Oh, don't you see the marginalization? Don't you see the way they are treating us? That doesn't work in legal circles. We want to look at facts. There is no union treaty. And those who come around here trying to claim, there is no way on earth, and I will address that issue of second-class citizens here too, that we are second-class citizens. I'll tell you why we have been treated as second-class citizens in Cameroon. And if this continues, very soon they will be repatriating many individuals abroad back to your country. If we travel over here and there's instability back there and it's affecting businesses abroad, because most of these countries have businesses in Africa, they will start repatriating many people. If we refuse to unite, see a good idea, appreciate, and work as one, and when they repatriate you, you go back, you end up in prison. And if we are not careful in the future, these people will consider our presidents incompetent, and they might come back to lead those nations in Africa. While some of us will be filtered and shipped abroad to work for foreign companies, we lose again on both sides. We lose the home country and we also lose sovereignty. It will be done strategically and diplomatically. Just like we go now, they filter us. They make sure that you're educated before you even come over here now. And we go sell a piece of land, borrow money, and come over here now legally, and then go subject ourselves and work for their companies. In those days, they used to be called slavery. Today, it is modern. Another modern concept will be invented in the future that will systematically allow these European nations to lead us again based on our inability. We said we wanted independence. We adopted socialism, which is not part of what most Western nations are doing. We failed with socialism, became dictators, created authoritarian regimes that oppresses our own people. Imagine Christians in Nigeria, oh, we are perishing, we need help. The United States government say we want to come in and help. The government say, no, we got it under control. Just yesterday, they are sending me a footage of how Christians are being massacred. I'll watch them. I don't run away. I want to see what is happening with our people. You, based on your inability to take the time, diagnose your problem and find solutions, you become a second-class citizen. This is what I was looking at. In one bibliometrics, that is a study, a bibliometric study on HPV research in Africa, 95.1% of publications were in English and only 3.9% in French. So, a 2025 analysis of French-speaking African education research found 64 countries focused on Francophone countries, 64 Francophone countries, and nearly half were published in English in international journals. So even for those who speak French to be recognized globally, they need to publish their articles in English. Almost all the peer review papers that I studied, did some research on what I'm sharing with you here. Most of them, even about Francophone countries, were published in English in order to have visibility. And you say you are an English speaker and you are a second-class citizen. I said there is no group of people on earth that speaks English that subjects themselves under Francophones like us in the world. Something is wrong. We will listen some more, but let that video show you those who cannot recognize leadership, those who know and they can ask and have clarity for their own life. That level of arrogance is what is holding us back. But that military man could tell that police officer, irrespective of your age, we should know this even in intellectual circles. You see someone, you know that this individual knows something that can help you. Pride and arrogance, you would rather destroy that individual. But the way God set this up, since he will be disclosing the next steps, if you fight me, destroy me, you get to lose everything. So that idea that you poison, you fight people, you lose everything and you remain in the same spot. And I've showed you our future. That is why God made it in a way you have to keep going to church every Sunday. Maybe you don't know why you keep going to church. Because if God showed you everything, you will not go to church again. So you will never fully get the whole picture. You have to keep coming every Sunday. Some of the stories are repeated. If you don't like the church, you can change the church. But God set up systems within the body of Christ in a way that you only get the blessing once you're plucked in the tree. You keep coming back. Because if God showed you everything, you will not show up in church anymore. So when you go out there and you try to do things your own way, the devil hits you, you lose your job, your child is sick, you're fighting with your husband or fighting with your wife, things are a little bit crazy, your business is going down. The next Sunday you will show up and say, God, this is me standing in the need of prayer. So you always need God till you leave earth. So with that, you keep coming back. And that is what he has done with me. Even me, he doesn't show me everything. So I have to rely on him. And as I rely on him, he keeps showing me the next steps. That's why some say, oh, they bought you. Everybody is bought. They just buy everybody. Why? Because that is a reflection of who you are. If you tell me that they bought me, I cannot trust you. Because if it were you get in contact with ministers in Cameroon, you would take bribe. And God made it in a way you never understand. Because the vision that he placed in my heart, I just have to trust him, not you. Whatever you say doesn't touch me. In as much as I am okay with God, you can keep your opinion to yourself. So let's keep listening. If we don't understand this, we'll lose everything, lose the freedom. The resources you claim you have in Africa is owned by God. If you can't coordinate yourself and manage those resources, he will take it. The Bible is clear. He that has, more will be added. And he that has not, even the little that he has will be taken from him. So the inability to organize, God will take it. The resources, they say the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. People that can coordinate themselves and do something God will take those resources and give it to them so that they can make the world a better place, and we can have something like the internet and phones that the world can buy and use, rather than saying this is a resource area for black people and they cannot organize, they'll be corrupt, and they will go on to treat each other poorly. So let's keep listening, but there is a lot for you to learn in this video. Yeah.
I'll be talking and policemen will be talking. Yeah, taking with us. We don't have any video.
Fighting for his own interest, protecting his or her own interest. When it comes to a situation like the elections that just took place, how do they agree? Because you see different interests.
They all come together, Chris. This is Bia is the one thing that unites them. And then when it comes to financial matters, the real president of Cameroon is Mr. Motaze, who is Minister of Finance, and he's also the president's nephew. So he has direct access to the president. So when it comes to financial matters, he is the president. And then you have the president, the president of everything else, who is Mr. Ngongo. So if you don't understand...
Ngongo is a president of everything else.
Everything else.
One thing that man said is, in spite the division in Cameroon, when it comes to the election, based on the question Chris Anu asked, he said they come together. Regarding this issue that we are dealing with, that name, Ambazonia, should not be used in our community anymore. In spite of how you feel, think, this is time for us to unite as one, or we perish. That they, even people with intentions like that government, come together. Now, let's listen to Fongojin Dinka. This is a legal mind. He's the one who diagnosed this issue and laid the foundation for Ambazonia and coined out that name in 1985. Before Foncha visited the UN. Foncha visited the UN in 1995 to say things are not working. And we will find out why. But let's understand how visions are formed, why the 9 years that we've gone through, the way it's been based on the visionary. Let's take a listen.
In Bangla alone, they raised down the whole Janda Barak with they raised it with fire. Now, you're a young man, and the time has come for you people to pick up the gun and pursue this fight to a logical conclusion. Thank you very much. I think before
Gojin Dinka said in that video, that was a speech he made in 1990, that is time for young men to pick up the gun and follow this case to its logical conclusion. His call to action was very clear. Now you see why Ayo Seseko's Tabe strategy of creating a government did not work, and he ended up in prison. A vision comes with the spirit attached. And that is why Che Ayawa, with the military strategy, went the way it did. The mission was simple: get a gun and fight, because that is the only solution. I love this because it comes with an interview that we are going to listen to an excerpt of that interview. So when the mission is about a gun and you try to bring in diplomacy and structure on a name called Amazonia that is not recognized by the UN, this was a legal mine. The mission statement was simple: pick up a gun and follow this case to its logical conclusion. I told you in the last video, it's not as if gun is not a good strategy. Yeah, it has its place. We need an army, right? We need an army. Don't get me wrong. And some still say we were a country. We were not a country. Don't use the word country. International diplomats will not listen to you claiming Southern Cameroons or even saying Amazonia was a country. You hear the foundation of this case. We were a UN trust territory. We were administered by Britain. It's a case of incomplete decolonization. So we did not fully have independence because the independence was conditional. The plebiscite was based on us voting to join. And without properly joining, it's an incomplete decolonization because there is no union treaty in the UN records or the British records. Nothing exists. Even in Yaoundé, nothing. There is no union treaty. All I did was ask questions on the foundation. So the mission was simple: pick up a gun. La République du Cameroon has seceded from the union. Which union, sir? Can you show us with proof that a union existed? A gentleman's agreement is not a union treaty. There is nothing like gentleman's agreement in international law. So let's go ahead and listen to some of the conversations and then we'll dive into this. But before we do that, some ask me, why is it that I use God? On January 6, 2018, our apartment in Dallas, Texas caught fire. We were fasting, had annual fast. My wife and our newborn were asleep on the 6th day of that fast. So I woke up that morning. I was reading scripture in a book by Joseph Prince. I think you know the popular pastor Joseph Prince. So studying that morning. As I was studying, a woman was screaming outside. I rushed and I opened the back door, and that woman was pointing to my rooftop. So fire was already on my rooftop. It had burned 3 apartment complexes and was right on my rooftop. So I rushed in, grabbed my family, a newborn baby and my wife, and we ran out. I remembered that there was a hard drive with projects of my clients inside of that burning house. And I had to rush back in to grab that bag so that I can avoid lawsuits, because it's not easy in America. One mistake, things can go south. My wife was screaming in terror as I rushed back into that house burning with fire. Experts told us that if I stayed in that house for 10 more minutes, I would have not been alive. Now, the gas tank in that house exploded as I was rushing out with that bag. So the people who took us in that morning came out barefooted. The people who took us in their home that cold morning were Christians. The woman who was screaming that morning when I heard her voice while I was studying the word of God was a Christian. We went and visited just to find out who is that woman that was screaming. She was a Christian. The pastor who prayed for me, prayed for my family after that tragedy, was a Christian. And the people who organized everything and made sure that we had everything we lost in that fire were all Christians. So God used his people to preserve my life. That pastor told me, this is God's calling on your life. He said, but don't just be like those who pick up the Bible without direction. Study to show yourself approved. So I went into a seminary, got my degree in divinity, later my MBA in finance from a Christian university. I've survived car crashes that would have taken my life. I've survived a gun to my head by an armed robber. I've survived spiritual attacks. I've survived loss. I've survived pain in the United States of America. I'm living on borrowed time. I know I would have either been on a wheelchair or dead based on the series of incidents I've survived in my life. So my journey is not political. It is divine. It is purposeful. It's necessary. And the only historical figure that mirrors this pattern from all the books that I have read is Winston Churchill. He survived accidents after accidents. He decided to live his life for the betterment of others. He believed that his life was preserved for a purpose. And when the moment came, he stood up against Hitler. He was the one who said, we will fight by day, we will fight by night, we'll fight in the rain, we'll fight in the sun, we'll fight in the air, we'll fight by land, we will fight. And they defeated Hitler. He said, we will never surrender. My life follows this pattern, preserved, protected, prepared for a moment like this. So when you tell me not to talk about God, you don't know my story. You don't understand my story. I did not pick up a Bible running around saying I'm a Christian. No, I fought even with that pastor. I said, what are you talking about? I was a motivational speaker around America. And then this tragic event happened, and then this pastor said it's a call of God. I said, hold on, I will pray and confirm myself. I fasted on that call for 3 days before accepting. Studied. Because pastors will be in the community conspiring with a lot of public military to inflict pain on our people, and will have other men of God justify that, and they will put a scripture to my face. God knew all of this and prepared me. Everything works for good. Nothing is lost for me. And that is how I see life. That is why some said, oh, the Cameroon dream. No, everything is studies. The way I understand Cameroon now if I did not go through this Cameroon Dream Project, this CSDP project, I would not understand Cameroon the way I do now. If I didn't go through my Tika heritage, I won't understand myself why the discrepancies between the Northwest and the Southwest, and to help handle that problem moving forward. If I didn't go through that journey, because I was emotional, people were talking, people always talk, they always have opinions. If you cannot filter the noise, you can never be used by God. And if you can't change your mind, you can't be used by God. A lot of people in our community are stones. God doesn't walk with stones. People are goats. God doesn't walk with goats. God only walks with sheep. That is why the Bible is about shepherd and a sheep. People willing to follow, change. People who cannot change their mind cannot be used by God. Forget it. I've seen this firsthand. I'm just in the will of God, and that is all I say. You don't know my story. And words cannot describe the terror I went through. Even till today, when I see fire, the emotional trauma, I blink. I'm not scared of death. When they send me pictures of young men that have been killed, I don't run away. I see it, but I blink when I see fire. Because of the emotional trauma. For 2 years, I could not even talk with family members. Just the shock of what happened. It was a God moment. It was not isolation. It was solitude. Spending time in the presence of God. You don't know about my life. You think people just you think this was content. You think this is just coming here and trying to talk and feel good with people. No, there's a mission. Everything about life for me is intentional. Everything. And every video that I produce, I ask myself questions. Did I throw myself into it? Did I do it like it was the last video? Some get up here, have their jobs, and then when they are done with their jobs, they find their free time and they say they are in a liberation movement. And you are standing up against a man that wakes up every morning called Paul Biya. One mission in mind. How do I maintain control here? Some of you would have been rallying and say, brother, what is your monthly bill? So that we handle some of these issues so you are not focused on finance to help free our homeland. We desire the freedom, but it's the least thing we invest time in. We cannot talk our way, show up on social media with fancy cameras and cut this. We must put in time, effort, and have passion to see our homeland be liberated. Clarity be brought, even for the Francophones. They are stuck, they are trapped, they need help. Because even as we free our homeland, they too will find their own freedom. You can't cut this up with sweet talk. This is work. People will tell you, no, you must invest time. You must have love. You must be dedicated. I know when people show up and talk and they are not prepared, they are not ready, they haven't studied, they haven't read. I can tell instantly that you probably just left the bar and turned on your camera. I can tell. And we want to build a society. They want to argue with you. Doesn't make sense.
My lecture writing. The country that has seceded from union is la République de Cameroon, which has seceded. They declared their secession on February the 4th, 1984. It is they who have seceded. And we say you must follow your secession to the logical conclusion by pulling out of Amazonia, or we have to stage a liberation war.
So that was his foundation. Like I told you, I study cause, I don't study effect. I spend very little time understanding what Seseko Ayok Tabe did or Chayaba or Pobia. I spend time on the founders, visionaries. What were they thinking? How did they see the world? Were their assumptions accurate? Because everybody else is an effect of their thought. So he said they seceded from a union. And then I ask the question, can I see that union? Did a union exist? Was it formed? Was it registered at the UN? Was that process followed in Resolution 1608? No. That solves 9 years of fighting with no direction. I say, people would have been saying, oh, brother, how can we talk with you? How can we send something? How can we stand with you? What is the next steps? Some people don't even think this is something. The video that I published 2 days ago, that video would have had at least 1 million views. How many people are there in the Anglophone zone? They say about 8 million. This is work. People will tell you that is grace. You know why they say sometimes they say it's grace? When God calls you, my brother, grace doesn't automatically mean everything will come. When God calls you, my brother, it's work. See that? This is just a book that I'm just finishing yesterday. When God calls you, it is work. You will read, you will study. People that want to make you feel good, they'll tell you, no, it's a blessing of God over their life. Ideas create every other department. That means the job that you are doing right now abroad, the thinker of that vision came up with systems, and then that department that fits your job description, he wrote that on paper. You just come in there and then you clock in and then you fit in that job. The visionary create, like Ayaba chose, they are fitting into the thinking of Gojindinka. So that is why you see us study visionaries. And most of the jobs you occupy abroad, whatever you make, you go home with 10%, 90% goes to that company. Maximum, you go home with 20% and 80% goes to that company. If you cannot produce up to 80% or at least 80% of what you make goes to that company. And you live with 20%, you have to pay your bills, you have to send some back home. So the companies here make money off you. If not, they lay you off if you cannot make enough. So I study visionaries. So you've heard what he said? Take note of that.
It's a decolonization, not a secession. We are trying to decolonize ourselves from a secessionist country which is imposing its rule on us after they have seceded. Please, have this in your mind and not to hit back at those who say you are secessionists. They are the secessionists. They have seceded. And we are asking them to pull back, having seceded. Thank you.
So that is Gojindinka in his formative years. See the energy that La Republique seceded. Again, it's not about noise. It's not about those who are loud, those who can talk, those who can say, oh, they killed us, they are hurting us. No. Precision, clarity. Southern Cameroons. That is why they call you cessationist. Because of logic like this, that is not clear. So 9 years, we've lost thousands of people. And I'm bringing about clarity on that in 2025. Why is Southern Cameroon stuck? We are a community where everyone claims to know. Nobody listens. Everyone wants to lead. Nobody wants to learn. Everyone is emotional. Nobody is strategic. That is the community we come from. So for 65 years, our intellectuals, professors, lawyers, activists, and politicians have talked, but none explained our issues with legal clarity. Instead, they fought each other Some fought Ayabache, some fought Seseko, Ayoktabe, some fought Gorjindinka, some hit the history, some fraction of the history they hit it, some manipulated it. And every time I left a vision in people's hands that come around to fight, they did nothing. And you begin to ask yourself, what do you want? Right? Because our community suffers from this disease. I'm sure you've seen it. Go into that company where you work for. Try to break up that white man's company and see how it goes for you. Or try to persuade one or two people in there to follow you to go start a company, because now you understand what they are doing in there. Go try that. Why will you do that when you come into your community? That is the question I'm asking. Because these are issues that if we don't handle, the journey is going to be long. Go try, tell one or two white folks that you've seen what is going on here. You are a top manager in this company. Break away. Let's go start something. Have the courage to do that anywhere you go around the world, not just in your community. Have the courage to show up late in that company, just like you do when you show up for events or when you have a meeting with a brother. Show up late and let's see how that turns out for you. Why do you do this to your people when you come into the community? Like I'm saying this, those who are reaching out to me, and I'm like, when you reach out to me, let's start acting as though we are citizens of that country. Number one, I've said, when you reach out to me, do not speak in pidgin, except you are a senior citizen that can't speak English. If you can't speak English, I understand. But if you can speak English, when you reach out to me, whether you're a friend in the past, or you knew me some months ago, or some weeks ago, speak in English. Let's start acting like citizens of that country we want to build. Our goal is that in the next 20 years, we build the first world nation in Africa once we are clear with this legal foundation. Nothing less. That is the vision. If we can live in America, see everything in this country, and can turn back and help our people, it's a disgrace. This is responsibility for us. We have the blindness of overconfidence. People are overconfident. But you look at their ideas, you say, brother, where do you get this from? They want to explain. They say, no, you are claiming like you know too much. Let me talk. Okay, I want to listen to you. You tell me, what do you know? Tell me. I'm willing to listen. That is why you see God can trust me even through my journey on this platform. You see that God is using me, and at every juncture I bend. Some people think to ask a question means they are ignorant, they are dumb. No, I've always been foolish. That's why I ask questions. I always assume I don't know, and that is why doors open up. That is why I'm able to bring clarity on this issue for 65 years, because I ask questions. When we don't listen, we cannot unite. We cannot strategize. We cannot negotiate. We'll always have people who want to go in the back and play some game with some white folk. We can't negotiate properly, and so our people continue to suffer. If Ambazonia went through, we would have had just the Francophone version of what is going on in La République du Cameroon. We would have had that in the Anglophone zone. I'm sure all of you will agree that that is where we were heading to. You cannot convince the world when you are not united. You can strategize, you can negotiate. And so our story is vague contradictions. We are restoring our independence. And then we have the name Ambazonia that doesn't exist in the UN archives. We move through with this. That is why when some people say, oh, I don't want to be part of their thing, I don't blame them. Without clarity, you can't blame people. You can't. You can't diagnose your own problem. When the blind lead the blind, that is what happens. We fall into a ditch. So we have been falling into that ditch since 1961.
The purpose of this is that if we are going asking for international help, the problem has got to be presented as an international violation of sovereignty. If you say Cameroon has violated the sovereignty of Amazonia, you have made a case before United Nations or before any other state. But when you say Cameroon has violated the sovereignty of Cameroon, they ask you, go and have a doctor to check your head.
That was Gorgin Dinka's argument. So he said we had to use that name Ambazonia because you can't say Cameroon is seceding from Cameroon. The assumption is a union treaty exists. My people, we have a lot of smart people in our community, and I believe we can do something amazing together. And close our ears from all this conspiracy going on in African communities. People will go back and persuade their wives, persuade their friends how Britain sold us when we don't have clarity like this. Now we revert back to conspiracy theories so that we can find peace at night. Do you see the kind of precision and clarity I'm bringing to us? When I think about a situation like this, and I back off and I'm like, no, I can't get involved in this. Oh, someone say, oh no, join this faction. No, do you see this? Imagine that the international community thinks clearly on an issue like this more than we do, because you think the wall is so huge that people forget. No, people don't forget. Or you think you show up and tell a story and they'll believe you. No, we just have about 195 countries in the world, about 193 sovereign states recognized by the UN. I think the only two nations, I think, is Palestine and Vatican City. I think these are the only two nations that are not recognized by the UN. We have 193 sovereign nations in the world. So it's not that much. So when you show up, they know. You tell lies, you think you're going to manipulate history, say all sorts of things, they know. That when you're honest and factual and legal, the way I have presented this issue, the world must listen to us. They must listen to us. You put the law before them, their own law, and say, this is what I see, with calmness, with the framework, with a good legal expert that understands what I have diagnosed, and say, sir, get in there and tell them what they need to hear based on these frameworks. There is no way you come out without something that is like Francis Ngannou in the boxing ring, not in the nightclub boxing where you only have the police come pick you up. We find the right jurisdiction and then we fight first. So we are talking about we want justice. You can never have justice without proper jurisdiction. You can never have justice without truth about your story. You can't assume cessation, that La Republique seceded from the Union. Now, I want you to listen to this and then we'll come back to this. Let's listen to this and then we'll look at what Foncha said when he went to the UN. I think that is important for many to know. What did Foncha say about our story? Because that is the recognized individual from the Southern Cameroons that was representing us. That means if they had to ratify a union treaty, this is the man that would have signed. He would have signed. Ayijo would have signed. Britain would have signed. They would have ratified that and they would have registered it at the UN. So in 1995, he went to the UN. But before we diagnose what he said, let's listen to this clip again.
It did not appear to me that that was going to precede the legalization of the draft constitution. So the very August, I had to go back to him and remind him about the resumed constitution. When he did not answer me in September, I reminded him. But unfortunately, on 1st of October, I used the draft to declare federation and unification, which did not finish.
He used the draft constitution. That is the document they were still negotiating on. That is why Fumban happened. Fumban was not a treaty-making event. It was a negotiation event. So Resolution 1608 outlined exactly how that union will be created. So he went to Aijo. Let's sign this thing. What we have in there is okay. At least it will serve as a legal foundation for this relationship. So that means, why is this important? That means if today we were being marginalized in Cameroon, there is something that we could reference. We could say, based on this document that we signed, you are not doing things the right way. Or they claim a federation was dissolved, the UN would have been notified. I told you, as it stands today, the UN doesn't recognize that there was a federal system of government in Cameroon in 1961. So when there are issues, we can go back there. It's like a monogamous relationship. So just in basic one-on-one relationship, we go sign whether we want polygamy or monogamy. Now, in case the man decides tomorrow that he wants a second wife, there is reference. We can go back and look at the marriage certificate and say, oh, this is what we signed here. So there was no reference. That is why 1972 is irrelevant. That is why 1984, that Gojin Dinka bases argument on, is irrelevant. We don't even assume that a federation exists if Resolution 1608 was not obeyed and a treaty ratified and registered at the UN. We stop there. So there is no point of reference. There is no document to reference. That is why we are in pain. And the world will watch us in this confusion and what we have done with Ambazonia. If we continue and people don't circulate this video so everyone in the community is alert, we'll continue with this ignorance, hoping that the world will hear us. No country in their right senses on earth will ever recognize Ambazonia. Even Eritrea, when they came out, they maintained their name. They went into that union with Eritrea, they came out with Eritrea. The Eritrea you guys were referencing, go study it. So, Foncha went to the UN in 95. So, I started with Resolution 1608 because after the plebiscite, Resolution 1608 was the next document that was issued. Since a union treaty doesn't exist, we look at Foncha like, okay, this leader that was supposed to sign that document, what did you do afterwards? Because some of you went in and served in that government. I told you they pick some people from among us and give them positions in that government with the hope that that will substitute for a union treaty. International law doesn't work that way. Our people can only be dancing with like Ambazonia back and forth and then remain in this ignorance. But when they present their legal case, there is no way the world will ignore us. So this is what Foncha did. In 1995, he visited the UN. So when Foncha visited the UN, as part of the SCNC petition, his message was essentially this. Number one, he said, the union with La République du Cameroon has totally failed. So he said the arrangement he helped created had collapsed. He said the union, and there is no union treaty. This is what our leader said when he visited the UN. Under SCNC, they didn't even go in there as Southern Cameroons, a UN trust territory that has an issue of incomplete decolonization. So you say the world hates us. Hate us how? The world doesn't like us. Oh, Britain sold us. Sold us how? If Britain sold us, the entire trusteeship system collapses instantly. My brother, this world, in as much as you blame these Europeans, if they didn't have an iota of truth in their speeches and how they build systems, it can't work, because even God will not support systems that are built that way for a very long time. That's why you see, even after everything they have done, you see they get involved with a lot of charity works, trying to make sure that the world is in order, trying to be fair. You cannot live in illegality forever. Empires have risen and collapsed, and America is mindful of that. We can't base an argument that is not clear on Europe hates us. Number 2, he said, Southern Cameroonians have been reduced to second-class citizens. This hurt me because I'll touch on this, but it really breaks my heart thinking this way. But what makes you a Francophone? What kind of juice have you drank from Pobia or Aijo that made you feel? We've seen even Kwame Nkrumah comes from Ghana. This is an English-speaking nation that has impacted the entire continent of Africa. African Americans and Caribbeans have all been impacted by Kwame Nkrumah. Nelson Mandela comes from South Africa, an English speaking. How come did you get to that place? What kind of juice did you drink from Paul Biya that made you feel? Let me tell you something. With no ego, following an average Anglophone that is a businessman doing well for his life will help you as an average Francophone lead a better life than following any president from any Francophone country in Africa. I just want to say that. You've seen what following Paul Biya has done for you, right? Okay. So he reported the discrimination and structural oppression since 1961. So the assumption is that a union existed. So he, even saying this, he doesn't understand the impact of the statement. And that is what I just listened to. And I'm like, what is he saying? That he used the draft constitution to declare a union? Who does that? And that is why I heavily invested in Foncha. I told you, and Aijo. I say, what kind of education did this man have, even though he was leading a country? Aijo had the equivalent of Form 3 education today. Form 3 was a radio operator, got into politics. France has nothing to do with this. They can benefit because of the businesses they operate in Cameroon. But if they were smart, they would have encouraged him. If they wanted to really manipulate us, they would have encouraged this man to sign that union treaty so they can go on to make the changes they did in 1972. Do you understand? Let's try to take responsibility for our destiny and stop blaming people. When I am clear with all of this, we do things the right way. I want to get to that place where I see exactly where these European nations are manipulating us. If we are clear and united in our thinking, then we'll figure that out. And if we get there and that is what I see, then we will know how to cross that bridge. But until we are clear and not have all, because this is the thing. I said there is no way for a dictatorship machine to work without the cooperation of millions of people. Those with bad character in our community that wants to always break up things. You're working with someone, you want to break up. There is no way for them to succeed if others don't follow them. In America here, if you're working in the company, you want to break up that company, there are many people that will not follow you. And you'll be scared, and either you stay back or you go away all by yourself and you don't cause confusion. So the people that want to follow you, they too are corrupt. So the individuals that will say, oh, we've heard what that young man said. Oh, but we want to go and start something. We want to twist it. We want to pick some lines from here and go use it to do other stuff. Those who will follow them are corrupt as well. And they are part of that mission. So he said, number 3, he said, the terms agreed upon before reunification was never respected. He didn't use the word reunification. He explained that what they expected in 1961 was not what happened. Are you hearing this? Number 4, he said, if I knew this is how it will turn out, I would never have let my people into that arrangement. So he expressed regret, not a legal challenge. And the last, he said, we asking the UN to intervene and address the injustice. Again, we are asking the UN to intervene and address the injustice. But he did not file a legal demand. It was a petition of grievances, not a jurisdictional complaint. This is what Foncha did not say. And I'm saying this for the very first time in our history, in this sequence, not in parts, not in fragments, not in confusion. He did not say Resolution 1608 was never implemented. Honorable members of the UN, diplomats of the UN, Resolution 1608 was never implemented. He did not say the Union Treaty was never signed. He did not say there was no deposition at the UN. The treaty was not registered at the UN. He did not say the trusteeship was never completed. He did not say Southern Cameroons remain a UN recognized trust territory. Foncha did not say this. He did not say La République du Cameroun has no legal jurisdiction without a signed union treaty. So their administration into our territory is illegal based on international law. He did not say that. He did not say the legal identity is Southern Cameroons, not Ambazonia. By that time, the name Ambazonia was circulating already. Remember, this name Ambazonia was coined out in 1985 after the name changed from the United Republic of Cameroon to the Republic of Cameroon in 1984. So he visited the UN in 1995. He did not say that. He did not say La République du Cameroun cannot annex a territory under UN supervision. This Francophone people, and this is what holds us back. When I look at one knowledgeable Anglophone who knows who they are equivalent to 1,000 Francophone in my eyes. If size and numbers was what mattered, David wouldn't have put down Goliath. America will not even be leading the war. Israel will not be making waves in the Middle East. Burkina Faso would not be making waves in Africa through Ibrahim Traore. If size was what mattered, Congo or Nigeria would have been making waves. He did not say any dialogue with Mbia is legally irrelevant without a union treaty. And that is what I brought clarity to. Dialogue with Paul Biya. Paul Biya can solve this problem. He is not competent to solve this problem. He is, first of all, old, weak, incompetent. And we assume just because someone is a president, they know. Paul Biya doesn't even understand these issues. He doesn't understand what I'm sharing with you. Paul Biya. What you guys have been complaining about, that's what he has been trying to think around. He doesn't understand these issues the way I've diagnosed it. So because we see somebody in authority, all of a sudden, oh, they are smart. They know everything. That is the kind of society we come from. So he did not make any of the legal arguments I have developed. Why? Because Foncha came from the mindset of a politician, not a jurisdictional theorist. He assumed a union existed. He assumed they just weren't respecting it. La Republique was not respecting the union that existed. He assumed he was reporting a failed relationship, not an illegal annexation or extension of La Republique's administration into a UN trust territory without the UN's approval. He focused on political grievances, not legal status. That is why the UN listened politely but did nothing. When you show up with Ambazonia, they listen politely. They're always friendly, and you leave there thinking they heard you, but they won't act on what you said. And they know from what you say you cannot run a country. You can't run a country based on what each and every one of us have gone there and said. And if you pick another file again and you hear some things here, you want to catch it, put some files and run, they know you. And some still put the flag Ambazonia behind them and speak. They know you. The petition lacked the legal backbone. So my legal clarity changes everything. That a union was never completed. There is no treaty. The trusteeship is still open because there is 76B. So the trusteeship is still open based on 76B. So we have the right to complete it. La Republique lacks jurisdiction. That's why I say no taxation without representation. No military in our land without representation, without a union treaty. So Southern Cameroons is still a separate international entity. We can confuse all of this with the words that we use. Resolution 1608 is the legal foundation. That is the document that existed after plebiscite. Resolution 1608. Ambazonia has no legal identity. It's a nickname in international law. Let me repeat that slowly. Ambazonia has no legal identity in international law. So this is the brand new clarity and not recycled talking points. So I'm not continuing Foncha's argument. So let's be clear with that. I'm not correcting and completing what the old generation never understood. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm clarifying their confusion. From Foncha, Ayijo, Paul, Bia, Gojin, Dinka. That is what I'm doing here. Do you understand? Now, we are going to continue listening to this clip. But one thing I want to let you know. We were not a country yet, but a UN trust territory. Some people still say that to me till today. Even after watching this video, they still say we were a country. We had our government. We had a people. We had borders. You can have all of that. But based on our status, we're not a country. A country must have their own army and be able to negotiate foreign affairs. None of that happened in Southern Cameroons. So using that, the international community will watch you and still say these people are not serious and can't handle a country because of the choice of words. Some are too used to this in a way that it'll be hard for many to change. Again, let me repeat. To have a fully recognized country, you must be able to negotiate foreign affairs and have your own army. So it was a UN trust territory, and that is the status we still have till date. So let's go ahead and continue listening to this video. They've given you ID cards, passports, birth certificate, told you you're a Cameroonian, brought the map, say this is Cameroon map, brought the stars, change it to one star, brought this before you and told you you're a Cameroonian. And we watch all of that, we're like, wow, oh, everything has changed. No, all of those are symbols. All of those are symbols, and those symbols should accompany a union treaty. Without a union treaty, whatever you change, paint the house. That's what we did with this election. Maybe if we vote Issa Chiruma Bakare, he becomes the president, we can negotiate with him, things can be better for us. Issa Chiruma doesn't have jurisdiction, even if he becomes the president of Cameroon. International law. Pobia has no jurisdictional power because we have no union treaty with them. Do you understand? They have zero jurisdiction. They don't even have a signature on the paper to extend their administration into a UN trust territory. La Republique doesn't. We were the ones who voted. UN organized the plebiscite, not La Republique. Not La Republique and the UN. You subject yourself under these people. Betty Buluman has been running our lives, and his brother Ayijo started this mission. Today, Issa Chiruma Bakari, the brother of that Ayijo that caused you this pain, now you're running after him. Short-term memory. I'm not confused by any of those things. I told you, I studied the visionaries. I'm not confused. Blink. Whoever comes around, I just watch. Because they look at you that way. When you show up, they ask, oh, where are you from? Oh, Anglophone zone. They make sure that they understand where you're from before they give you a position in that country. Some, they tell you that you're not pure blood. Go listen to that interview of that Yaoundé man talking with Chris Arnold. Says some people, if your father comes from the Bamileke land and your mother from Yaoundé, you don't have pure blood. So we can't give you certain positions or grant certain projects to you in this country. Then you are an Anglophone, yours is finished. That is why some of our people work hard. I see some, they want, like Atanganji, they want to make sure that they work hard so the master can see them. You can't help, bro.
And must come back.
And then this Cameroon. Well, I thought if you were following the lecture. What I just said, even to the other man who was talking about secession, is that if you believe the Cameroon has seceded, and the two countries came together only by way of a treaty. Yes. Is there that treaty now? Okay.
They came into a union by way of a treaty. That is the founder of Ambazonia. Please pay attention to that. That's what he's saying. Pay attention to that. That is what he's saying. That there was a treaty. So we bind ourselves to the people, and then we are trying to break away from the people. They are calling it secession, and we are stopped. So our case is wrong, our files are wrong, our petitions are wrong, everything about it is wrong. We have the wrong name, we have the wrong structure, wrong understanding about our case, and we want the world to hear us. My brother, imagine that you have a headache and you are drinking aloe vera. When aloe vera has to do with issues in the stomach, drink one bucket. That headache is going nowhere. You need Tylenol. You need paracetamol. That is what we have been doing. Fighting in the nightclub instead of in the rain. We must establish jurisdiction.
So it's not a matter of somebody moving out of the other. The treaty has got collapsed, and everybody maintain the status quo ante. I think you understand? Okay. So that's to say, the territory which was called West Cameroon, which I call Amazonia, is still there. It has no legitimate government. It has no legitimate government. It doesn't even have a puppet government. Like we have a puppet government, and Amazonia doesn't even have a puppet government. So it's a vacuum. There is a political vacuum, a constitutional vacuum, a political vacuum there which has got to be filled by Amazonians themselves. So the treaty has broken down, so there is no union. It's no question. You have to secede only what is there legally tied together. Then you shall talk about secession. But as you yourself see,
you know, one thing that amazes me today watching this, that is why we have to, I respect the founding fathers of America, because even if we are talking about amendments, they thought well before drafting that document. So now people only amend. I want you to look at our own systems. Imagine that we continue like this for the next 50, 100 years. Where are we going? Try hard, magic will happen. Fight, arm the boys, unite and fight. When the foundation is confused like this, there is no hope. Thousands of people have died. If we had a clear foundation and we were fighting, this would have been a different story. Again, don't get me wrong. I say we will need an army. We need an army as we build. But imagine that the foundation was like this. People will only think within the confines of an idea. That is why when you run away from book work, you only want to carry things. You just want to be energetic. We want just rage and courage without thinking. This is what happens. God uses the foolish things of this world to confine the wise. So he made it in a way that I had to understand the country, understand the people, understand everything. And then he opens my eye to this. He opens my eye so I can see this. So the next steps, if you try to double cross me, you will get stuck, because I know the people in our community and I'll just watch you, because he hasn't told me everything. But I know the next steps are going to be amazing. So people will want to run to the UN right now. Can we? And that is not the next steps, but those who want to go about running with this mission and not cooperate to bring about clarity, I'm willing to tell you everything so you can go try. This is 65 years deconstruction and helping you to have international recognition. With what I have shared, 193 countries will recognize you instantly. And your case will be moved from that category to the right category. Your ID card now is identified by all these nations. Just with this one shift.
The treaty that brought us together has collapsed, has been repudiated. Therefore,
if there was an election and then you cannot...
There's a very important question that he was asked during this conference. I want us to listen. It's important. But once the world assume a union existed, everything else become a domino effect. So if the world believes there was a union, they will treat it as an internal issue. So you can be caged in there shouting, take me out. They have locked up people in prison. All of that, they deal with it as an internal issue. So the UN, the United States will come with peacekeeping mission just to maintain the status quo or bring about peace because of their investments, and everything goes back to normal. So they will ignore international law, because what you said, that's what you said is going on with you. They will avoid UN involvement. They will assume Yaoundé has jurisdiction. You want to dialogue with Pobia? We said this. And then they will avoid calling it decolonization. They will dismiss complaints and assume this is a separatist movement. Do you understand? And on that note, this is what people did with the Canadian talks. Now, the Canadian talks was a mistake, big mistake. The Canadian pre-talks or talks, people wanted to go to Canada. And this, I mean, individuals who said they know what they are doing, they were so zealous. Now, when you participate in a dialogue arranged by a third country without first establishing your legal identity, Southern Cameroons, you accidentally legitimize the idea that La République du Cameroon has authority over you. Immediately, that's what you do. So, you are a domestic problem, not an international one. That's why they say go dialogue with Pobia. That's why they say let's organize talks and have Pobia come dialogue with you. Some say Pobia don't want to come because he doesn't want to come. I mean, what will he say? He doesn't even have power. He doesn't even know. So the issue is a political disagreement, not an unresolved UN decolonization file. That alone shifts the entire case into the wrong category. A people claiming to be a UN trust territory with an incomplete decolonization process should not be negotiating as if they are rebels, militants, or a breakaway province. This collapses our strongest legal argument. Because this is not an internal conflict. This is an incomplete international process under UN Resolution 1608. You hear, I keep referencing that document. What are we doing right now? Just for those who are spreading messages or sharing with others. The first step I did was reassert our legal identity. Southern Cameroons, a UN trust territory. So start using that. Reassert the unresolved process, which is the resolution 1608 was never executed. The tripartite conference never held, no union treaty, no treaty deposited at the UN. We put that on the table because we've looked in there, there is nothing. We demand the correct forum. Again, the UK and the UN are the individuals that have jurisdictional power to resolve this crisis, not even the United States of America. Not even Yaoundé, Nigeria or the African Union. And our people have run into all these courts. Not Canada, not Swiss Center for Humanitarian Dialogue, not Nigeria, not even the African Union. those bodies have zero jurisdiction over trust territory disposition. And then the most powerful thing I have done, which is why don't be in a rush to run to UK or to the UN. I shift the burden of proof. This is powerful. This is strategy. This is what it means to think. I shifted the burden of proof. Why? Because we are not the one claiming that we own La République du Cameroon. La République du Cameroon is claiming they own us. They have control over us. They have control over our territory. So the burden of proof that a union treaty exists goes to La République du Cameroon. Just with proper communication, the energy in this country can change forever. Sir, you are the one claiming us. Is that true? Yes. Okay, so the burden of proof is on you that you own me, right? Yeah. So if I say, oh, you have this phone, I see you get this phone, and now I thought this phone was mine. Now you say it is yours. Okay, if you claim it is yours, the burden of proof is on you, not me. If you claim, who's the one claiming La République? Is it Southern Cameroons that is claiming La République? No. So who has the burden of proof? Our legal experts know this. La République has the burden of proof beyond reasonable doubt. You have to prove beyond every reasonable doubt that you own this. And the receipt is what is going to make the difference. And what is that receipt? A union treaty. And the steps outlined in that document, Resolution 1608, under Article 102. So the burden of proof, La République must prove how they inherited Southern Cameroons without a treaty. And I rest my case right there. You can't negotiate your way out of a legal situation that La République du Cameroon created by violating international law. Dialogue is not the starting point. The starting point is jurisdiction. Before we talk about peace, we must talk about legality. Let's wrap it up.
Suddenly just declare it void and null. I mean, you have to have some proof to do that. And also, if you're talking about the state of West Cameroon, wouldn't you rather want to have Cameroon be a bigger country, the Gabon, the Central Africa, and the Congo that we gave up? Shouldn't we rather be one country instead of breaking it up further into smaller units? And so I would think you want to expand Cameroon and contract it.
Okay.
And you can change the name if you want.
If I understood you rightly, we should be involved in increasing the area of Cameroon rather than diminishing the area of Cameroon. You understand that as your problem?
Yes.
Okay? I would ask you the same question. Have you been able to ask this question to Paul Biya and Ahijo that they have not been able to bring in Gabon, Congo, and Central African Republic? It is Dinka who has been colonized and who says colonialism is obnoxious, who must now be under that colonialism in order to increase Cameroon. This is the question. Sometimes, please, when we are meeting highly intelligent group like this, we expect much more intelligent questions.
Yeah, Gojin Dinka was a no joke man, right? I love his energy. I was giving him credit for that. Like I said, he was a very brilliant man, but his ideas were all over the place, not well thought out. That is my honest observation. Now, when you mix the two, like restoring independence and Bazonia, I just want to let you know what we lose. We destroy the legal power of this case. So the UN legal identity, which is Southern Cameroons, we lose that with Ambazonia. The trusteeship file, we lose that. Resolution 1608, we lose that. Article 102, we lose that. Foncha went there with the SCNC, Southern Cameroons National Council. Not just Southern Cameroons. Put Southern Cameroons on the table and let the war face us. We lose Article 76B. The burden of proof advantage, we lose that. Now we are the ones to prove. They use their internal laws to dissolve those systems. And even if there was a union, the UN should be notified on the changes made, because this was a trust territory, not a German colony. You see, they keep bringing that question. It has been around for a very long time. The assumption that we were one country, we were under Germany, we came back together, German Cameroon. When you are confused, your whole life will be confused. Just start. So we lose all of that. The international recognition of the name Southern Cameroons, we lose that. We replace all of that with a name that has no legal existence on record. It weakens the case instantly. Ambazonia may be, it may have emotional power, but it has zero legal power. And I just leave you with that. Ambazonia has zero legal power. And this is what we have been missing for 65 years. We didn't create these problems. It is our responsibility to fix these problems. And if we live in the best nation on earth, America, and cannot use our freedom to fix the issues in Southern Cameroons, we have failed the next generation. This is not about money. It's not about ego. It's about clarity, truth, and responsibility. Let's build something worthy of our children's future. I'll put my website in the description, a link to a blog. You can go there. There will be a lot for you to read and just get yourself used to this new vocabulary. Again, we are going for a first world nation. First world nation, the first world nation in Africa. This precision and clarity in thinking is what we will apply in every sector in the Southern Cameroons. This is the difference with those who pick up a fight versus those who have a vision. Those who pick up a fight, the end of that fight becomes the victory. That has been a pattern with most black people. Now, when you have a vision, the fight is different when people cross your territory. Like there are some people, if I sense that you're after the vision, again, I'm attacking ideas here, not individuals. If I sense that you want to continue to confuse others and leave our people in pain, I'll find you. I'll find you. The ideas. Don't get me wrong. In those days, they told me, be quiet, be calm, and you see, silence is good. I mean, I'm realizing foolishness is multiplying and everybody's going down. Now, you can run after a hen. Let me contextualize this with an example. When you're running after a hen, the hen might run away. You pick a stone and throw, the hen might run away. But when that hen has eggs and children, that is a vision. Try to touch one. I'm sure you can experiment with this in your environment. The hen will not play with you trying to touch the child egg, because this is a vision. And that's how God works. That is exactly how God works. The first thing he gives you is a vision. If Gojin Dinka picked up a fight, that's why Southern Cameroons is the way it is. His vision was the fight. You could see it in stone, everything. His vision was the fight. No, our vision is to build. And because we want to build, we want good roads, we want good schools, we want good industries, we want better institutions. We want to make Africa safe for democracy. We want to make Southern Cameroons safe for democracy, for trade, and for worship. That is our vision. And because we have that in mind, if someone crosses, extends their administration into our territory, the fight becomes different. You will see the energy of the people in this area once this is established. Just this information in the minds of people will change the energy in the atmosphere. That we are here to build. That is why God sent Nehemiah to build the broken walls. Nehemiah came with two things. He came with a trowel, that is a shovel, and then he also had a knife on the other hand, had a cutlass. So I'm building while if someone is trying to break down this wall, I will train their hands. That is how God has operated over time. A vision, and then you protect that vision. We should have that first. I told you what was happening in Cameroon was the illusion of change. You win an election and you're on the run. Don't join that madness. Very soon they will frame another story to tell you about what Issa Chukma Bakari did. You came in and said you wanted to fight. And that was your vision. If you came in and said you wanted to build, then I will understand that if someone, don't let pain control you in this life. Southern Cameroonians, hear me well. And that is one thing I have learned in my own life. Don't ever let pain control you. Someone show up and tell you, oh, I will hit down your enemy, and then you start joining them. No, chill. Then what next? I want someone with a vision. Without vision, people perish. We will take down enemies when we have a vision. It will be so smooth and easy, and it will not even be our focus. But when your vision is to fight to the last man standing, brother, for what? For what? An English-speaking man, for crying out loud. Calling yourself second-class citizen. And let me tell you something about this whole thing. Then I'll let you go. I thought there's something I don't just want to let go. I'll leave you with this. This is what makes you a second-class citizen. When you don't understand your legal identity, Southern Cameroons. When you don't understand jurisdiction, wanting to dialogue with Paul Biya, not with the UK or the UN. You become a second-class citizen when you don't understand Resolution 1608, that the Union Treaty doesn't exist because what was written in that document was not followed. When you don't understand Article 76B, you think emotion replaces law. With that, you will become a second-class citizen. You break a vision, you were never called to lead. When you break that vision, you create that atmosphere to become a second-class citizen. So our problem is not identity. Our problem is clarity. Our problem is not identity. Our problem is clarity. When you don't know your assignment, I've seen this in our community a lot. People want to be others. They don't want to be themselves. Life, my people, you come into this world with a hardware. Whatever you learn around is software. That is nature versus nurture. These facts are unavoidable. You will never be me, and I'll never be you. Your fingerprint is unique, and so is mine. God doesn't repeat himself. We might come from the same region, even from the same womb, but you will never be me, and I'll never be you. And that is what makes life amazing. Even relationships. You'll never be a woman will never be a man. That is why marriage is amazing. If you came into this world as a con, even if you go through school, an Ivy League university, that is like fertilizer on that corn. You will only grow a better corn. There is never a day you can turn that corn into an apple. That corn, the seed, will never produce an apple. I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses. I know what others are good at, and I know what I am not good at. There are some territories I will not venture in. That is what makes life amazing. It reduces jealousy, competition. Instead, we cooperate and build. I'm sharing this with us because what we are building, we will not have all these factions moving forward. I've gone through this entire journey to understand us in a way you can't even think. From the Francophone side, the Anglophone side, Southwest, Northwest, I've understood everybody. This behavior, let's keep it on the side. If not, we'll turn around and be captured and be slaves again. That is the future for us if care is not taken. Remain blessed, share this video, subscribe on this platform, and do not miss out, because every time a video is uploaded, you will be notified. We are making progress, and change is coming to us.